Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel, Fantasy Lorenzo.
Wait, what did you say?
Fantasy Lorenzo.
Have a good one.
You guys better subscribe and watch my friend on his YouTube channel. He is kicking ass.
What's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review and give my thoughts on Sons of Anarchy Seasons 4 and 5. Now, this video isn't going to be overly long, so don't expect me to, go over every, plot point of both seasons. That'd be kind of crazy. And I know right away there's going to be stuff I leave out, so feel free to comment below and we can talk about more specific parts of it a bit more if you want. But I did this with seasons 2 and 3 as well. Just because I've been enjoying this show so much that I always don't stop to do a video on it. I want to keep watching, so that's why I end up doing these, sort of double season reviews, which I know isn't really the way to do it, properly anyway. But after this, I'm going to try and review them one by one, especially since it's the last 2 seasons. I think we're going to have to separate them a little bit. But yeah, I'm still really liking Sons of Anarchy. It's great. It's a great show. I already have a poster of it, which I'll show at some other point. But I think it's honestly right up there with sort of like the all-time best crime dramas, like Breaking Bad and Dexter for me and stuff like that. And also a show called Banshee. Sons of Anarchy is just really making a name for itself for me. So yeah. Both seasons I thought were very good. Possibly the best of the show so far. Although I still really like season 2. And I actually think 3 is pretty good as well, and 1 is a fine start. So, it really just depends on your preference. I think it just comes down to your favorite parts of the story and stuff like that. But of course, the main thing about season 4 was, John Teller's, letters, to the woman in Ireland, and Clay trying to keep that all buried. Clay and Gemma, but Clay taking a more direct approach, and that sort of spun into season 5, of course. But yeah, Piney, who's trying to dig up this stuff about John because he had known him as well, and I just really love the pacing of all of that. I was really impressed with it because I felt like almost every conversation was walking on eggshells, kind of thing. It had me hanging on to like every conversation the characters would have, especially when it came to Clay and Piney and stuff like that. And Jax and Piney have a great conversation right before what happens with Clay and Piney happens. Jax saying, this club has lost its way. And that was my best impression without yelling. And Piney, telling him how Jax is sort of just his awareness in the way he sees the club now and the way he knows it. It's kind of the same line of thinking that John had. But of course, Jax, he's trying to supposedly get out of it. He wants to take care of the kids and just finally be done with it because he sees the club as poison, not just for what it did to his old man, but what it's even starting to do to him without even sitting at the head of the table. And then there's also a really good line by Piney. I'm going to butcher it now because I forget the exact line, but just about it's what you do afterward to repair, kind of repair the damage you've done. Really well written and back and forth between the two there. And then I should definitely talk about the fact that Clay actually takes it as far to kill Piney to keep, try and keep some of that buried, which is, sad to see because, Piney is, kind of a cornerstone character of the show, Opie's father and everything. But, it's sort of an important part of the past, and, you got why Clay did it, but, yeah, what Clay does in this season and, 5, I think, really make him into a very good sort of, crime drama villain. I don't know, I feel weird saying villain because it's not quite that simple, I guess, but, definitely the antagonist of the story for sure, especially at this part. Then he also tries to have it arranged to have Tara killed. Luckily, Lojax is sort of with her more often than he's ready for. That was very intense as well. And of course, when Opie finds out about this, he eventually, connects the dots. And of course, this ties back to what happened to Donna at the end of season 1, and him knowing Clay was tied to that as well. So Opie just goes off. He snaps. Jackson and some others try and talk him down, but he goes right into the clubhouse, and then he actually ends up shooting Clay. He's about to shoot him again, but Jax stops him. So Clay's taken in and Ope's down. So that was all just very, very intense. Also really great acting from Ryan Hurst, who plays Opie. We'll talk more about him in a few minutes. But yeah, just everyone on the show just does such a good job making it believable. It feels almost real. From Charlie Hunnam, to Ron Perlman, he's great on the show, and like I said, Ryan Hurst and everything. And then season 5. I should also talk about Tig a little bit. I forget the guy's name, the guy you had known in the past I had issues with. I was so adamant about not letting him join the club. They eventually sort of worked things out, and you find out it was actually because he had somehow gotten Tig's dog killed. He thought it was about a woman, but it was about a dog, which is kind of funny, but I found it kind of touching because I know how much a dog can and should mean to a person. It actually ties into what Tig does in season 5, which I enjoyed quite a bit. Kim Coates, again, another credit to the show. So yeah, again, I know there's a lot more to season 4 than that, but again, just comment if you want to talk about something else. I'm just kind of going over the main plots of both seasons. And of course, season 5, you have them being set up and taken into prison, and episode 3, man, it shocked me because like I had heard, characters go in pretty bad ways on the show, and I thought I knew the time where some of that stuff would start happening, sort of. I just thought, okay, it lasts season or 2, but yeah, episode 3, it threw me off. I wasn't ready for it. Of course, Opie, he ends up sacrificing himself because before we get to that, you also have this new guy named Mr. Pope, played by Harold Panu, and I know I just butchered his last name, but he's been on a lot of things over the years. He was seen in the first episode of Z Nation and different shows like that. We see Rachel Miner come back, briefly, playing Kim Coates' daughter, who I did Tig's daughter, who I did seeing, because I really enjoyed her work on Supernatural. She was just perfect to play a character like that, or at least the daughter of a character like that. But she ends up being taken by Pope and burned alive right in front of him, which was kind of hard to see. Kim Coates, as much as I like him, he can be a bit over the top sometimes, but I think he nailed it fairly well in that scene. And the character's direction, from then on, I think was really a lot of really kind of dynamic, not stagnant or anything. especially if you look at Tig from like season 1 and 2 and how you see him compared to like 4 and especially 5. And, you know, it's quite the contrast. But yeah, and you know, so that leads into the prison scenario, where Pope has arranged it for one of them not to come out alive. They of course think Tig is the obvious one, but they want him to sort of suffer and, you know, stay in prison a while. But they still want one other one, you know, as you know, punishment. Of course, Jax is going to pick one of them just to, you know, give over or be taken by the guards and, you know, beaten to death or something like that. But Opie, he just steps in, you know, I think he headbutts one of the guards and, you know, kind of forces them to take him. And that was just hard to see, you know, he's surrounded by guys and, you know, he fights a few of them off a little bit with a pipe, but then he ends up having that taken. And there's a shot of him just looking at Jax one last time before he gets completely nailed in the back of the head. And then you don't really see it, but then you see a guy continuing to beat his head in sort of like Negan style. And that was hard to see. I was shocked. I was saddened. I'll admit, like I didn't cry except a little bit later when they do the wake and everything. But again, it was mostly a shock. And I actually reacted for the first time to something in a while. I just felt like I actually did that. I was like, oh, no. But yeah, Opie was just a great, really consistently acted character on the show. Sort of like almost a moral compass besides Jack and Piney. Sort of that genuinely good guy character, I guess, even though he had issues as well. You always felt for him, you always felt bad for him, so it was hard to see this happen to him and this be the end of his story. But that's kind of real to that world, unfortunately, and as I say later, they always thought Ope was he's been looking for a way out for a while, and this, you know, saved everyone else, so. And I think this completely changed Jax going forward already into Season 5. Ope was like a crutch of his that's holding him up going through all this, you know, keeping him from becoming Clay or, you know, another kind of guy like that. But Season 5, and I even think probably in the final 2 seasons, Jax is just going to become, you know, more cold and sort of more, I don't know, almost Clay-like, whether he wants it or not. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, that was really, really devastating. I didn't expect it at that time. Like I said, I heard a lot of characters end up dying on the show, but I didn't think episode 3 of Season 5. Clay's story of the season is also really, really interesting because I should have talked about this already, but, you know, what he did to Gemma in Season 4, actually, you know, beating her, you know, how can you get behind the character again after that? As manipulative and, you know, sort of frustrating as Gemma can be herself, and you can argue who's actually worse, I guess, but I guess this kind of puts it over for Clay. But, you know, after he was shot by Opie and everything, we see him in Season 5. It's kind of a cool parallel because you see him, you know, kind of having to carry the same things that Piney did to keep himself going, along with his, you know, hand issues and stuff like that. So I was really invested in where they're going to take Clay in Season 5. And Ron Perlman, he just did an excellent job with it. You feel like he's actually, you know, he has remorse and everything. You know, just the way you would look at Gemma and not really know what to say, but not saying it would almost show it. And, you know, him sort of, you know, after it was taken to the table and, you know, Jax actually becomes president, which is good, but, you know, kind of terrible at the same time if you know the nature of this kind of show. It's just really interesting. And Juice sort of gets to care for Clay a little bit more this season as well. And you almost feel like, yeah, okay, Clay is you know, kind of a broken, you know, person. He's done this to himself, but he seems like he carries a lot of regret with him, and he does. Even though it's hard to see sometimes. But then he sets it up again, and he has these break-ins, you know, against Unser, you know, the new sheriff's, you know, wife and everything. You know, who actually ends up being killed, which apparently he didn't want to take it. He didn't want to take him that far. But he still settles up because he wants to create a more unstable, you know, sort of area and make it seem like Jax can, can't do it quite as well. So we would end up at the front of the table again, and that was just really, come on. But then you see a little bit later the way he talks to sort of Juice and Tig and stuff like that. You can see that maybe these types of urges and sort of like wants of his are starting to fade a little bit. Like he's still doing it, but he puts it a different way. But it's like he's doing it just to kind of do it. He doesn't really care as much anymore for some reason. He only seems to actually care about Gemma and regret what happened with her. But at the same time, you also see the introduction of Jimmy Smits' character, Nero, this season, who I liked. I think he's a good fit on the show. Of course, a lot of people also know him from his role on the 3rd season of Dexter. And I think he's even better here. I just think he's playing a better character. So I thought he fit in pretty well. And the thing with him and his sister with Gemma and stuff, I thought was alright. But I still think the character works well in the realm of the show. And I brought up what happened with Tig a little bit earlier. Of course, he's just wanting to go right back at Pope, but after what happened to Opie, Jax makes him promise that he'll always back him and play he makes and stuff like that. At the same time, one of those really morally great things that Jax has done since losing Ope, promising to give Tig over to Mr. Pope, as soon as they're done, with these different operations and stuff like that, and let him die the same way his daughter did. So I know Tig's not a perfect guy himself, but still, you'd never hear like season 1 or season 2 Jax agreeing to something like that. And so all season long, you're kind of waiting for that moment. And eventually, I get to like this dog fighting thing, and I hated seeing that. As just animal rights, a sort of dog loving person. But I know that things like that exist. But I was surprised at how much they showed on the series in the episode, because you see like these garbage cans, like full of bodies, and that was kind of not odd, but bad to see. And you see a little bit of the violence between the dogs, and about Tig, he sees one that just lost a fight being taken to the back, about to be put down. You just boom. But Tig stops it. I really like Tig for that, and it ties into Doug he cared so much for in his past and stuff like that. So I like Tig for standing up for that, and he stops the guy and he actually takes the dog in, and that's been really nice to see. I hope they still have the dog around in season 6. And luckily, I was about to hate Jax because he's about to give him over to Pope, and he goes through with it, but luckily sort of changes his mind, and he comes in, and him and Tig are able to kill Pope and some of the men that he had with him. And so that was a pretty good payoff to see, I think. And of course, they're also working to prove that Clay had hand in those break-ins and everything, which they eventually do. But another sort of conflicting morally gray thing, you actually see Clay protect Unser, right as the guys are about to come in to kill him, the way he set it up, but he changes his mind. Clay's not going to admit it, but it's like Unser said, sort of sentimentals, got to him, I think. But Clay, of course, he ends up being taken into prison eventually. And that's kind of where they leave him in season 5. And of course, Jax wanted to kill him, but Bobby's sort of trying to prevent that. He's kicked out of the club, his patches are taken and everything. They even dress it up with Gemma, to get closer to him, to get the evidence for it. And you can see that Gemma's sort of conflicted on it. She doesn't want to get that close to him again, but at the same time, she's starting to feel for him again, I think. So yeah, it was all really good what happened, and Bobby sort of trying to keep Jax at bay, but Jax is sort of snapping, he's sort of losing himself. Like I said, I think it's really starting. So yeah, this is a really great season too. As far as rating both of them, I'd probably give both of them maybe both A minuses, maybe A's, who knows. But I just really enjoyed both seasons. Let me know what you guys thought about them. And like I said, I know there's plenty more I didn't talk about, so feel free to leave a comment below, and you can definitely talk about it more if you actually finish this video anyway. So yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.